Is my husband a narcissist? Is my wife narcissistic? Or am I the narcissist here? Or maybe there are no narcissists at all and it is all in my head. Many people come to therapy with exactly this kind of confusion, and this is why in this video I want to talk about how not to confuse a real narcissist with a regular person who simply has a difficult character, a stressful period, or an unfortunate way of expressing emotions. On the surface, it seems easy. You open a checklist of signs of narcissism, watch a couple of popular videos, tick off what matches, and it feels like you have a diagnosis. But in real life, things are much more complex. People over and over again end up in relationships where they gradually lose themselves, tolerate humiliation, live in constant tension, and then years later, look back in horror and ask, how did I not notice this monster next to me? Where were my eyes? Why did I convince myself for so long that everything was fine? What is most interesting is that the main difference between a narcissist and a non-narcissist is often hidden in a place where people rarely look. Not in loud speeches, not in love for mirrors, not in showy self-confidence, but in more subtle things, in motives, in selective memory, in how they treat reality and your pain. And this is what we are going to unpack now. At the end, I will also give you a simple but very revealing inner test that can help you understand who you are really dealing with. First important note, a single sign is never enough to hang the label narcissist on someone. We always look at the whole picture, at behavior in dynamics and in different situations. Any, even the most stable person, can be pushed to the point where their reactions look like a textbook example of narcissism. So our goal is not to hunt for one perfect symptom, but to see how everything skladowates together. The first big difference is not in what a person does, but in why they do it. It is all about motivation. On the outside, two people may behave identically. Both snapped, both yelled, both slammed the door. But if you look inside, the processes can be completely different. Imagine your husband suddenly shouts at you. On the surface, it is just a raised voice. It hurts and feels unfair no matter what triggered it. But a non-narcissistic person usually shouts as a reaction to a specific moment. He is exhausted, overwhelmed with problems, scared about something, confused, hurting physically, unable to regulate himself right now. It is not okay. It still hurts you. But there is a crucial next step. The next day, he may feel ashamed, recognize that he went too far, apologize, and try to react differently next time. His emotion is tied to circumstances and fades as the situation passes. For a narcissist, shouting very often serves a completely different function. It is not just an emotional outburst, it is a tool, the same way a builder uses a hammer. One of my male clients once said very calmly in a session, "I don't raise my voice because I am evil. I notice that when I do, she agrees faster and argues less." He had literally found a control button and started pressing it on purpose. This is where the fundamental difference lies. A regular person loses control because they cannot handle the tension. A narcissist raises their voice because it gets them what they want. On the outside, it is the same shout. Inside, the intentions are completely different. And this story with motivation then repeats everywhere. In care, in apologies, in affection, in romantic gestures. From here we come to the second sign. Narcissists are very calculating. And if someone thinks strategically, they need information. Narcissists remember a lot about you, but in a specific way. There is a stereotype that they never listen and think only about themselves. In reality, they do listen, and quite carefully, but their goal is different. A non-narcissistic person remembers your weak spots in order not to hurt you there again. They know which parts of your history are painful, what you are ashamed of, what triggers you, and they genuinely try not to step on those wounds. They also remember what makes you feel good. Favorite food, hobbies, films, small things that light you up. Their memory is tied to affection and the wish to protect you. A narcissist also remembers the details of what you tell them, but for them, it is a map of your vulnerabilities. You once opened up and admitted that as a child, your mother used to call you useless, and that word still stabs you inside. Sometime later, during an argument about something minor, he suddenly throws at you, "No wonder your mother thought you were useless." This is not a coincidence. This is a carefully stored bullet, fired exactly at the moment you dared to disagree with him. Here you can try a simple experiment. What does your partner most easily remember about you? If it is your achievements, joyful events, funny stories, moments of strength and growth, you are likely dealing with someone who wants you to feel well. If the main things they recall are your failures, shameful episodes, clumsy mistakes, weaknesses, that selectivity is not random. It says, "I keep a list of where it hurts and I am ready to use it when needed." Next comes the question of change. A regular person changes slowly and unevenly. They make mistakes, see the consequences, watch how their behavior hurts someone they love, feel discomfort about it, and try to correct it. They can stumble, go backwards, doubt themselves. But there is one key line inside. "I see your pain, and I want this pain to be smaller, even if it means I have to work on myself." You can actually see this dynamic over time. A year ago, your partner reacted rough and harsh. Now they pause more often, try to speak differently, catch themselves in the moment. To threats of divorce, conflict, loss of, to threats of divorce, conflict, loss of comfort. This strategy stops working. I have to pick another strategy. After a major fight, if the wife says, "That's it, I am leaving," a narcissistic partner can suddenly become ideal for a month or two. Flowers, tenderness, attention, thoughtful small gestures, recreating the romance of early dating. From the outside, it looks like sincere transformation. Look, he understood everything. He cares. He is changing. We have a chance. But if you ask such a person in therapy, "What did you realize about yourself in that conflict?" you often hear something like, "I realized that I need to control myself better around her. Otherwise, she will threaten divorce again. And I don't want those problems." That is the key. He did not realize that he is inflicting pain. He did not truly take responsibility. He simply adjusted his behavior to avoid losing what is convenient for him. The behavior changes, the internal attitude, no. Another important layer is their relationship with reality. Victims often cannot believe that an adult can be so irrational in describing obvious things. But for a narcissist, lying is often not a cold, conscious, "I know this is false." It is more like, "I choose a version of reality that is comfortable for me and sincerely believe in it." The wife recalls last night. He yelled so loud the neighbors banged on the wall. She remembers the fear, the shaking hands, the shame. She talks about it with tears in her eyes. He looks at her and says, "I didn't yell. I calmly asked you to be more responsible. You always exaggerate everything." And he may genuinely believe this narrative. because in his inner world, admitting that he screamed and frightened her would mean admitting that something is wrong with him. My voice. It wasn't humiliating you, my voice. It wasn't humiliating you, it was a joke. It wasn't control, it was care. Step by step, he builds a reality where he is always adequate, logical, and right. And at the same time, slowly erodes your sense of reality. You begin to doubt your memory, your feelings, your right to call things by their names. And now, let's move to the inner test I promised. Pay attention to what stays with you after communication. After talking to a regular, emotionally zderowy person, your thoughts usually stay on the topic itself. You think about the subject of the conversation, ideas, plans, problems, solutions, jokes. You mentally return to what you discussed. After interacting with a narcissist, your mind often spins around the person, not the content. You are not thinking, "What did we decide?" or "What did I learn?" You are thinking, "Did I behave correctly? Did I overreact? Did I hurt him? Did I say the right thing? Did he misunderstand me? Why did my mood suddenly drop? Why do I feel anxious after this talk?" In other words, the center of gravity shifts, not the topic but him, not your needs but his reaction. And the longer this goes on, the more your attention sticks to his state, his tone, his facial expression, his silence, his sighs. At some point, you stop noticing where you are in all this. Your own desires, needs, feelings get pushed to the background and then disappear. There is only one important figure left, him, and your endless attempts to adapt. Then months or years later, you look back and ask yourself, where was I? Why did I ignore the red flags? Why did I try so desperately to win his approval instead of asking, what is happening to me? And here begins the most important part, returning to yourself. Remember who you were before this relationship, what you liked, what you were interested in, what gave you energy. What disappeared from your life after you got involved with this person, and what appeared instead: constant anxiety, self-doubt, guilt, feeling never good enough. This is the direction you can start moving in. Step by step, you can bring back into your life the things that used to make you feel alive. Hobbies, people, routines, little joys. Because when you are more whole and connected to yourself on the inside, you depend less on the approval of someone who is destroying you. And you less and less want to go back to a space where you have to constantly earn the right to exist. If you feel stuck in a similar relationship, if you do not understand how to get out or even how to stop dissolving in this person, it is worth looking for support in therapy, counseling, in safe people around you. The main thing is not to stay alone with this. And finally, remember, you are the main person in your own life. Not your partner, not your parent, not someone special for whose sake you must tolerate anything, but you. If the same pattern keeps repeating, narcissists, manipulators, abusers, it is not a reason to blame yourself, but it is a signal to look closely at your inner settings, at where you learn to tolerate too much and to put others above yourself. Start with something small. Bring back at least one thing you loved but gave up for someone else. Give yourself permission to have your own desires. Over time, you will notice that it becomes easier to see people who make you smaller and easier to step away from destructive bonds. If this video resonates with you, share in the comments what moments you recognized from your own life. Which phrases or situations felt familiar? Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next deep dives into these topics. And hit like if this helped you look at your relationship from a different angle. This is your small step toward coming back to yourself and choosing people with whom you can stay alive and fully yourself.